Welcome to episode 520 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Hilton, and the international break is over, and that means Barcelona is playing again. Not only did they play again, but they picked up a tight 1-0 win over Athletic Club. Before you go too far into the video, just want to ask you, since the international break is over, if you're not subscribed to the channel for any reason, just do that quickly. It only takes a second. It's a big help on the channel and helps me get some of those sponsors that, well, you haven't seen for any bit of time here. So again, with that done, let's get into it. 5 headlines from Barcelona's 1-0 win over Athletic Club. Headline 1 is a game built to drop points. Those are 3 huge points against Athletic Club. Xavi missing half of his starters and getting a winner from a 17-year-old on his debut. And I don't care what it papers over or all the bad things that we're going to talk about even in this 5 headlines. There are some bad things, sure. But I've been saying about those points, and you'll hear me throughout the years even, that a poor Barcelona team this year that people can find holes and cracks in was the same one that, even though that defensive record was great last year, it was certainly last year with Barcelona winning the Liga, not the best version of FC Barcelona. Yet, they still won the Liga, and you can sign me up for a quote-unquote poor La Liga trophy every single year, year in and year out. But moving your attention to Athletic Club, there was a reason why I felt like a draw or, even a loss was more probable than a victory. Athletic Club had not lost in La Liga following a FIFA break for more than 3 years, dating back to September of 2020. Ron Araujo wasn't starting because he arrived back late from the break. Gundogan had traveled from North America, so even with him starting, Gundogan was not to be expected to be his best, and we'll get to that in a bit. And there were 5 to 6 starters watching this game from the stands for FC Barcelona. And Athletic Club did not send the same number of internationals out on international duty, and they looked pretty healthy, about 90% healthy from what Ernesto Valverde would like to put out there. So with Ernesto Valverde playing against his former side, Inigo Martinez also playing against his former side on the other side, Athletic Club, they were the team that were primed, I thought, to get points, even though it was at Barcelona's home in Montjuic. And I think a lot of you who are poo-pooing the match for Barcelona are agreeing with me, because if not for that stoppage time in the first half, kick save by Marc-Andre ter Stegen, and a few other moments with he and Inigo Martinez, a block that didn't matter because of offside, but Inigo Martinez still in other big defensive moments. If not for those two in this game, and then Christensen and Araujo late, yeah, certainly Barcelona would not have kept a clean sheet, and Athletic Club should feel like they deserved a bit more from this game. Headline 2 is Frontline Experiment, and this is one of those where I'm going to get into the headline, and it's going to feel bigger than it really is. This is the first time that João Felix, Fermin Lopez, who is an attacking midfielder, and I think a midfielder, not really a winger or a false 9 in the way that he was playing in that first half. Fermin Lopez is really an attacking midfielder and a high interior. So to have those 3 playing, and if I didn't mention Ferran Torres as a third, with those 2 playing together in those roles for the first time this season, I just felt like, what could you possibly expect? But you do expect certain things that they weren't really delivering on, especially in that first half where there just were not enough runs in the half spaces. And yet, Barcelona, as they do, they're the team that creates more chances than any other team in Europe. That first chance they got came in the 11th minute. Really simple, nice diagonal ball from Inigo Martinez. He was popping those off all evening. To Ferran Torres, the Yuri Bashish overplayed. Rough day from him. Also came out early in the first half to an injury. That allowed Torres to take on the center back, so João Felix got himself in position and just scraped the bar. A warning shot for Athletic Club. And Barcelona, another one too. 14th minute, Balde finally delivers a dangerous cutback ball. Tremendous ball from Gundogan to get it to Balde, intended for João Felix, and the ball falls to Fermin Lopez for the shot that was well saved by Unai Simon. And a reminder too that Unai Simon is the starting goalkeeper for the Spanish national team for a reason. Yes, ter Stegen was the best goalkeeper in the Liga last season. Courtois had it the year before that, but this might really be Unai Simon's season to win the Zamora Trophy. As I already mentioned, and you knew it with Robert Lewandowski not in this game, there was no traditional number 9 for Barcelona. Fermin Lopez and João Felix were both the center forwards, but João Felix would set up a little bit more on that left wing. But we know the Balde in this system. He is the left winger. He is the left back. And I know he got those cramps in the second half that might have frustrated people, but he runs so much. Even at his age, it's a lot of running, and it's a lot of defensive duties on top of being the only outlet there on the left wing. And they were trying to make things work, but it just really wasn't working. And João Felix, I thought, had a really good game, though, all things considered. He actually gets fouled about half the time that he asked for, but in this game, you could tell he asked for it a bit too much, and the referee just started ignoring what were fouls, and obviously, he didn't get the calls that weren't fouls, and he was kind of embellishing quite a bit. Another chance, Torres chance in the 47th minute. João Felix dropping in, and he delivers a really good low and quick diagonal ball for Torres, who takes a bit too long to set it up. But still, even though it wasn't Ferran Torres' game, we know that he truly probably isn't a starter in this side the way that João Felix is next to Lewandowski with Rafinha. I said it for a while. If it's not Rafinha, it is Lamine Yamal, who is the starter instead of Ferran Torres in a must-win one game of one, which Barcelona never see because they don't have anybody healthy all at the same time. But I think João Felix, I don't want him to get lost. I think there is certainly debate beginning because you're not seeing a final end product, even though he did pick up the assist here. But the effort from him in this game was almost man of the match quality. 5 ball recoveries, 2 clearances, 3 chances created, including the assist on the goal that I mentioned. And if Balde is the left winger, that meant João Felix also has to help defend, and he did just that in this game. It was a good showing from João Felix, whether or not there was any goal in the back of the net off his foot. Headline 3 is poor from Romeu and Gundogan, and this will be a kind of a quick headline because it really wasn't that bad, but it also wasn't the best. Barcelona, they were out of a defensive shape today. They were having a lot of trouble with the structure, and Xavi mentioned after the game, and I think all of us could see, Barcelona was really struggling with that press from Athletic Club. And once Athletic Club, who aren't known for their technical mastery, but still they have good players, and once some weird bounce of the ball or flick on from Athletic Club player, and Barcelona were on the back foot in transition. Gavi picked up a 7th minute yellow for that. Romeu picked up a 41st minute for that. And Barca midfielders taking tactical fouls in transition is going to happen. I don't blame Gavi for taking it. If anything, I praise him for keeping his head for the rest of that game and not picking up a second yellow. Romeu, of course, came out in the second half, so only had about 20 more minutes, but still he did not get that second yellow. But what is more worrying about the yellow that Romeu picked up late in the first is that it came off a throw-in. So as I said, it was just one little flick on. And when you have teams that are even better than Athletic Club, which with Nico Williams, who did not have his best day, Cancelo, believe it or not, I know Cancelo, you got your problems with him, and he is not a great all-around defender, yes, but he dealt with Nico Williams just fine today. Nico didn't do so well. Iñaki Williams had a little more success against Balde on that opposite side, and then trying to come through the middle, nothing to it. Inigo Martinez and Christensen, and then Araujo had a pretty good day, and it was Araujo who had already come in by the time Iñaki Williams moved into the center there in the second half. But still, I thought Barcelona's back line did what they had to do, but in transition, that is the concern. And Barcelona in transition the other way, that's why you didn't see too many counters lead to much of anything, other than what I already mentioned, that 45th minute chance from Torres from João Felix. Barcelona were just struggling with that press all around. And you didn't see much of Gavi and Gundogan and Romeu in that midfield kind of taking over. And it seemed like they would hold the ball too long or they would turn into trouble. And these are those moments when you want one of them, or maybe Frankie de Jong or a Pedri, de Jong would be the one to push the ball forward and just dribble into that space in a way that Romeu and Gundogan just weren't or aren't. You know, they weren't keeping the ball and retaining the ball when that press from Athletic Club would come from behind and that second man would come over from that deeper line in the midfield. And Pedri's ball retention was also missing from this game. You needed one of those midfielders to complete that turn and get the ball off, and they did do it aplenty. Credit to Athletic Club and Ernesto Valverde. They pressed for 90 minutes. And Barcelona, as I said, the silver lining here is that it ended in a clean sheet. But there were a lot of times when it might not have, especially in total shots in this game. But that ball security is an issue. This was one of Romeu's worst games this season. I've seen better from him. You've seen better from him. But Gundogan and Gavi, if Romeu is not on his day and they're not really going to drop deep, Barcelona are going to have problems. Headline 4 is not taking what was given. Very much continuing on that theme of the negative ideas that I got from the structure that Barcelona were not putting out today. It was also just poor clearing, which is, again, not something you expect from Barcelona. You want them to play out of the back at all times. But there were so many moments in the game against that press when it's Gundogan and Romeu and Christensen, Cancelo, and Inigo Martinez, all of them had at least one moment where I said, just hoof that thing downfield and worry about winning the ball 30 yards farther forward. I know that's what Athletic Club want you to do, but sometimes you have to also take what the other team gives you and take advantage of that. So if you see that happening and you continue to lose it on the press, then you got to put your forwards in better positions, put 2 of them together as to where that ball is going to be cleared, and you have to execute a little bit better than just, hoofing it to nobody, but hoof it in a direction where, let's say, João Felix and Fermin Lopez, 2 guys who aren't necessarily known to win the 50-50s, but if they're both there on the ball, maybe something good can happen, then get off to the races, or you just spray that thing wide out to the right and then hope that Ferran Torres can get on it. Not every long ball has to come from those diagonal balls that Barcelona clearly were saying this is going to be the game plan, and obviously it should be. And that's why Barcelona did have some success in this game. The Athletic Club were looking to defend narrow, as you can see, and then their plan was defend narrow. I mean, we've seen this not just Athletic Club, but a lot of teams have had success against Barca doing this way, defending narrow and then getting out to their wings. And Athletic Club have had success not against Barcelona even, but against most teams this season by doing that, because you have then the Williams brothers on the wings to run at your outside backs. Also noticed too that João Cancelo wasn't really tucking in so much this game. That seems to be an idea that Xavi has kind of abandoned unless you are playing a team in a low block and a team that doesn't necessarily have the quality that you're too worried about getting out in transition. So if Cancelo is the one who starts against Shakhtar Donetsk, which obviously there's no other right back, so I guess he would. Hector Fort cannot play in the Champions League. He is not registered for the Champions League. Neither is Marc Guiu, but more on that in a bit. But João Cancelo was staying wide, and I think this is the plan moving forward for him. 58th minute, though, he had some success going forward, makes a miracle run. João Felix, Gundogan, and Fermin Lopez all get chances at Athletic Club, stop playing, waiting for the flag, and it never came, and you got to play to the final whistle. There was a number of weird times in this game where either team just kind of stopped when the whistle wasn't being blown and they weren't playing to the final whistle. And I don't know if that means that maybe the ref's not doing as well as he should have, if both teams are having moments when they were stopping to play, but it didn't seem so egregious to me that either team even felt like it was a big problem afterwards either. And with that 90 minutes of pressing from Athletic Club, Barcelona they were slowing down, but so were Athletic Club too. When the boys from the Basque Country were languishing in the second half, it saw the introduction of Lamine Yamal, and he thought he could have an impact against the tiring Athletic Club legs. And when the game was 0-0, I did feel at that point, so we're talking the 60th minute, Lamine Yamal on for Romeu and Araujo on for Christensen, and even in the 64th minute when Lamine Yamal missed wide there, I did feel like even at 0-0, people would have been frustrated, the 5 headlines would have been tougher to do, but a 0-0 draw would have kind of been fair to what we've seen from that match so far. 1-1, if anything, would have been fair, but I also felt like Barcelona might have had a goal in them at that point. Because it wasn't a lack of effort. It might have been a lack of structure and continuity and instruction. And these are those games where you do look at Xavi if the result doesn't happen to say, hey, what more could you have done for your team? Because they were running for you and they were giving, as I mentioned with João Felix, great effort. And that original front line, especially Fermin Lopez and Alejandro Balde there on the left, Fermin Lopez had completely run out of gas by the 73rd minute. I actually saw him grab something from the sideline, and I think it was either one of those gel things or maybe just a water bottle, which I think he actually carried with him on a run, and then I saw him throw it behind the Athletic Club goal a little bit later. So they were completely gassed. That forward line, Ferran Torres and Fermin Lopez, João Felix, and even the midfield, they gave you everything that they had for Xavi. And when you talk about effort, don't just look at the X's and O's and, but they just didn't keep the ball well or something like that, but they were giving it everything they had, and they were fighting for that jersey and that crest, and that's really, truly, at the end of the day, what you ask for. Because if you give everything you have, even if it's not the best day at the office for a number of different players, if you give 100% effort and you're a team that does have better players, just on paper has better players, you can still get points from a game like this. Which leads us to headline 5, which is La Masia to the rescue again. 79th minute, Marcos Alonso on for Balde, Marc Guiu on for Fermin Lopez, and I was told it was Marc Guiu, so this is a pronunciation correction. It is Marc Guiu moving forward. That is the Catalan pronunciation, so that's what we're going with. And now that I've already established he was on the field, now it's time to tell you that he scored. First and second touches of the ball, still just 17 years old. Marc Guiu chants in the stadium, and that's a chant, if you heard it in Montjuic, that is built for a future star. When the announcer says Marc and everyone says Guiu, all in continuity, the ooh sounds are the ones that really resonate throughout the stadium. And of course, Masia, the 2 syllables, that works out too. But the Marc Guiu chant, love it already. Hopefully you get to hear a lot more of it for the next, goodness gracious, I'm getting to feel old here, 15 years maybe, but really good pass from Inigo Martinez in for João Felix to set this up, and then João Felix ahead to Marc Guiu. So a lot of credit to Inigo Martinez. He was really good in this game, and I'm glad he showed up against his former team. As I said, João Felix also good in this game, along with Ter Stegen. Those are my standouts. And then Marc Guiu, we know how he finished this one. It's a through ball in behind. Doesn't really have too much time to think about it. I really did think that he got the ball stuck in his feet, but no, he actually got enough on it. Unai Simon came out, got a hand on it, but it still wasn't enough. Absolutely incredible scenes. These are the moments that I do all that work on La Masia talents, and I say, oh, this kid's 15, 16. Is that too young? Should I really be considering this? But if Xavi's considering him, then I consider him. And he's a 17-year-old who went with the Barcelona first team to Vissel Kobe last season in Japan and played that second half. And so if Xavi was already looking at him, then Yeah, that's why I look at him too. And then Kool-Aid's in totality are taking a look at him. Apparently, he went from 44,000 followers on Instagram to certainly over 100,000 by the last time I checked, and maybe 200,000 by the time you're seeing this today. So the next question is, who is Marc Guiu? And if you're one of the few that follow me, you might have known who he was already. But if you're the ones who only tune in for 5 headlines, then you probably don't know who he was. He was a local product from Granollers, just northeast of Barcelona, the city. He started as a young pup with Sant Celoni Barça. That was 4, 5, 6-year-old football. And that is a fan club of FC Barcelona, by the way. So very local to the city. In 2013, though, so we're talking as a 7-year-old, he joined La Masia for the pre-Benjamin category. And that is as early as you can enter the academy. So he was one of, we'll say, original generation players. And he has been there ever since, which is still only 10 years, but still been there ever since. This year, he's been playing with the U19s, not even really with Barça Athletic, and that includes the UEFA Youth League, where on Wednesday, because he is not registered for the Shakhtar Donetsk first team match in the Champions League, instead, he will likely be starting for the U19s against Shakhtar Donetsk in the UEFA Youth League. And with a player that young, yeah, you know there's going to be some history. So let's talk about that history he made, courtesy of Mr. Chip. Having been on the field for just 34 seconds, that's the fastest debut goal scored by a Barca player in La Liga history. And it took 94 years for that record to kind of be his in that way. And I think that that might be Marc Guiu's record for another 94 years. I don't see how, after 34 seconds, somebody in their very first match is going to be able to break that one unless it happens instantly or it's a start of a game and it happens in the first 20 to 25 seconds where you see those goals scored off kickoff. That's the only way that this one gets broken. So that one is one that I think might be his for a long, long, long time. He is also the 5th youngest Barcelona goal scorer in the Liga behind Lamine Yamal, Ansu Fati, Bojan Krkic, and Xavi. So pretty incredible that all 5 of those are from the 21st century and 4 of the 5 is from the last 5 seasons. That's pretty insane. And that really is that thing about the generational La Masia when the academy is needed. And it's so cliche and Barcelona fans wax poetic. I'm almost annoyed by it too, and I say it more than almost anybody, but it is poetic. It's one of the reasons why you're probably a Kool-Aid, and if you're a Barcelona fan, still watching these 5 headlines with me and watch these match reviews in and out, because you care about the foundation of this club, and they get to, that being Barcelona, put as part of their brand that they trust in their academy, that they trust their homegrown products, they trust the kids that really do care about the badge, and don't just sell out for the money, this or that. Well, yeah, a lot of players sell out for the money. All the players sell out for the money. And these academy kids, if they're good enough, do get paid superstar money. Don't you worry about them. But there is something very romantic about the idea of a kid from 7 years old looking at that, well, not this stadium per se, but looking at that first team and saying, someday I'm going to be on that field and I'm going to score as a member of the first team. And these are kids that dream of that. They live in their dorms with their families, and they spend their whole life just dreaming of that moment. And for it to come 34 seconds in, I mean, it really does show you that's why we love football. Because for those moments, as cold-hearted as I am, you know I can be very stoic, especially when I watch the matches. But when you see his face, you are him for that moment. We're all just Marc Guiu, the 17-year-old who's living his dream for just that moment, that exuberance. There is nothing like it in this sport. It's a wonderful thing. It was the 3rd fastest debut goal in the Liga history. So yeah, it really was wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And that's why I think it was so exciting for me too. It just happened in a blink. I was excited he was on the field and I was ready to kind of write some notes. Oh, how is he going to do in his 12 minutes of action or 15 minutes of action, whatever he was going to get. But for him to make history like this, incredible. He's also one of only 8 players under the age of 18 that scored on a Liga debut. So still, rarefied company. He was named MVP of the match, which, yeah, I mean, why not? That's what I said to that. Why not? Give it to him. You can see everybody wanted it for him. And Marc Guiu, after the game as well, said Ronald Araujo was the one who gave him the most confidence to come out. So we need to get some kind of Ronald Araujo recording so I can wake up to that as my alarm clock in the morning, because I think that's what we all need every morning to wake up to get our day started the right way. I do hope we remember this game from Marc Guiu more than Barcelona kind of limping to those 3 points. But as I said, 3 very, 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 I cannot stress it enough, important points. Because now, with those 3 points, you do have just the smallest margin of error against a Real Madrid team that did drop points in El Clasico. And a Real Madrid team that took care of business against Girona. And Barcelona, you better do the same thing against Girona coming up in a few weeks. But you took care of business in a game that I really didn't think they were going to get points in. And those are the kind of games, I sound like a parrot, but those are the kind of games that can win you the Liga trophy at the end of a season. The last little note I will leave you with comes from the academy. Well, not too far, but Barça Athletic. Marc Bernal, another player, along with Pau Gasly, who I think we might see with the first team once or twice this season. I don't know when. Marc Bernal is one of those like April, May, depending on what's kind of going on with Barça Athletic, what's going on with the first team, and where everybody is in the league tables and things like that. But Marc Bernal with a brace today, third youngest player to score for Barça Athletic, and second youngest to score a brace for Barça Athletic. So a big day for him, playing as an interior with Marc Costadil behind him, not necessarily a pivot this time around, and kind of letting him just be a good player. And he has just been so superb, just 16. Incredible stuff that Barcelona's doing with their academy. I can't wax poetic enough. But I think that is enough for now, because with Shakhtar Donetsk on Wednesday, then the podcast on Thursday, and El Clasico, of course, coming up on the weekend. There's still a lot to go over here this week, and I'm going to go back in the lab, figure all that out, and you'll hear from me sooner than later. So thanks for listening to the 5 headlines. You know where to find me: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, Close Facebook Group, YouTube. Subscribing YouTube is really helpful, or leaving me a nice little good rating or review on the podcast app. Also a big, big help. Most importantly, though, thanks so much for listening to the Barcelona podcast. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Forza Barça.